fields. It has the dual wave running, the blend field wave running, which means that field can now take on the Wa activations. Okay, and this just explains where this kind of goes with this one, where it's located. The Van Allens, the EgoNet is in here, a quarter to 3/4 of the outer Van Allen, right? So it's listing where those nets are located, right? And over here it's telling you what you just put, what you have immunity of as of that date, that completion occurred on each of these levels. For the plane 3 sets, we had the D3 mental body and the epigenetic overlay were cleared, and also DNA strand 3 and the epigenetic overlay. So that's strand 3 clearing, but also the clearing of the multiple layers of the epigenetic overlay. And that's one thing that was accomplished in the last workshop and fulfilled in this one. And the next one was 5. All right, so this one, if we notice, that took out the EgoNet, right? That recoded the EgoNet, and now we finally have that coding stop. So the mental body messing with us and trying to make us nuts will get much, much calmer now. We still have the issue of we can still feel nuts because they can access the biofield through the D2 level of the intranet, through the biochemicals. But they can't push in and take over in the same way that they could when they were able to access the EgoNet and literally push the three-dimensional identity out of the body temporarily and get in and take over. So we've at least got, the mental body is secured, and it will not activate any more of the Metatronic coding. It may still be processing and trying to get rid of some of the encryption lattice mess that was there from whatever Metatronic activation had taken place, but it will not go beyond its present level of Metatronic activation. So it is safe from the 55 activations, it is safe from the progressive messing where the Metatronic frequencies are coming in and allowing progressively more ease of mental possession and those kind of things. So there is safe, the mental body is safe. Now, let's see, we also did 5, okay, seaplane 5, and you can read these over. I'm not going to read every one of them before we get to the technique, because I want to take a short break for restroom run before we go into technique. But anyway, we did this one. This is mirror ball communion matter planes type. The activation of this started again at the last workshop, and it fulfills during Slider 7 workshop, which is this one. If we bring number 5 down and look at number 5 down here, okay, this is mirror ball and encryption lattice, the D5 mirror ball and the D5 encryption lattice, and they're in density too, right? Mirror ball field, light body, and atomic body dimensional controls. These fields control the density 1 light body and the D3, which are the mental body, atoms, the atomic atoms. All right, the net Earth locations of mirror ball communion planes dimensional fields. For this one, they're actually located in M31. All right, so they're not even in the Milky Way galaxy. Activation of mirror ball communion plane blend field initiates overlay bonding with METNet level. When we did this activation, plane 5, mirror ball plane 5, it overlaid the D5. They call it the FAMNet, which is the false ascended master net that's coming from actually Terra level D5, which is also referred to as the higher astral, and which is located in the D5 encryption lattice in the magnetosphere. So in our planetary magnetosphere, that's where that net lives, and that we also began the re-encrypting of in the last workshop, and that is completed in this workshop. And what this gives the METNet freeze on, the immunity level 2, is the D4 astral body and DNA strand 5, interestingly. Okay, so we've got our astral body back as we've completed the astral body and the mental body levels of this healing and building of immunity. Now, what we were going to do in this workshop, in Slider 7, was the next one. You can bring this down, please. Which would have been, let me see, this one. We were going to do seaplane 2, our communion plane 2, which was the D2 telluric physical, right? And that corresponds with the D1 etheric over in the Aurora Earth. All right, this is located, or actually, I don't know, I forget why we put that there in the last one, actually, just ignore the net Earth surface thing, but it's physical telluric etheric matter type. This one is the one we're supposed to. Notice there's no expedited. The EXP number means the first level that was expedited, the second that was expedited, and the third that was expedited. This one was supposed to occur on this date, this date set, to start here at this workshop, and to end in the next workshop, which would be in August of this year, Sliders 8, right? So this was supposed to take place here. That one, which again is plane 2, corresponds with down here. Oh, please. Thank you. 2 corresponds with the D3 mirror ball, the D3 encryption lattice, right? The controls the D1 light body and Rasha atoms. All right, this is its locations. I won't even go into those right now because you can read them. They're not that important for this discussion. It creates the overlay on the D2 intranet in the outer half of the inner Van Allen to the inner half of the Van Allen gap. So that's where the intranet is located. So it actually begins re-encrypting and blocking that. So it's stopping the Metatronic activations of the intranet in our systems. And what that is, the intranet is the biochemical, the physical body net. So it's literally beginning the biochemical immunities in the physical body. Now, that was supposed to start now and in Sliders 8, and that's why Sliders 8 was going to be the advanced level of physical body, physical emotional body Sliders training, and it still will be. That's still going to be the title, but heaven knows what we're going to be learning at that point with it. But this will finish when it's supposed to in Sliders 8 workshop. It did start in this workshop, and the ones I'm saying did start are the ones that weren't just like initiated and waiting. These are the ones that are actually in motion from the activations that took place during the Shadra. Right? And this corresponds with DNA strand 2 and the biochemical DNA and the biochemistries in the body, the chemical biochemistries. So this is where we start getting the weird like shifts and things where I've been getting spinning, and I've been getting like reality shifts where I'm just watching the picture before me kind of divide into 2, and then there's 3, the one I'm looking at, and the other 2 that went out to the sides, and they come back again and kind of snap, and I'm going, whoa, this is really weird. So if you get any strange effects like that, it's because of this particular activation that is starting, that has been initiated in this workshop. Now, the 3 expedited levels are these. The first expedited level, this one was supposed to start in the Sliders 8 workshop and complete in the Sliders 9. It is starting, and these 3 will be the transmissions we receive once we go through the technique, get to the point where we're in a Patra stance with our YAS hosts, because they're actually our hosts, right? They are the ones that are going to get us through. And they will actually transmit to us the frequencies to activate these 3 levels tonight. So we did the one we're already activating, and these are on idle. We got some of that in the Shadra, but they have to do the final transmissions to give the WA code, the WA codes that go with these levels. It will give a jump to those, because we wouldn't actually access those for a while until after 2011. So we'll be getting this one, which is plane 4, okay, and plane 4 corresponds to, this one, the numbers actually match, plane 4 corresponds to mirror ball, D4 mirror ball, and the D4 encryption lattice. D3, it controls D3 light body and the D2 physical atoms. This is where it's located, and outer Van Allen, where it's located, you can read that. And this gives the activation of the mirror ball communion planes where it blends, what overlay levels get blended in, and thus the Metatronic activations get stopped in, or is the beginning of where they stop, right? And this, in Sliders 8, this will be done by then. The D4 lower astral, the FCC net, which is the false Christ consciousness grid, the false Christ consciousness net, and that's located in the D4 encryption lattice, the outer edge of the outer Van Allen belts. What this will give the net freeze immunity to is the density 1 Auger hydroacoustic body and DNA strand 4. All right, so there we've got our density 1 body in immunity level starting, and it will finish in the next workshop. We're also doing the next one, which is the expedited number 2. This one wasn't supposed to start until Sliders 9 in October, which is when we do the Mayan cruise thing. And it wasn't supposed to finish until January of 2011 during the FOL workshop. It is starting tonight, or today, whatever it is, in this workshop, and it will complete by the next workshop, by Sliders 8. So that's August. All right, that one corresponds to, that's number, where am I? Number 1, right? Was I on? Yep. Number 1, this one starts to get interesting, is number 1 corresponds to the D3 mirror ball, and the D2 mirror ball, the D2 encryption lattice, the Rasha light body, the density 5, your Rishi level atoms, right? And this is where it's located. The D1 Dermanet, Earth's upper mantle and crust to the ozone layer, so it corresponds to those frequency bands. So basically where we're walking around up to the ozone layer is where it's running. And what this puts the MetNet freeze immunity on, or starts it on, is the D1 etheric body and the DNA template, and the DNA strand 1, and DNA template level, so DNA template. And here we had, when we did number 3, I think that is, isn't it? Yeah, when we did number 3 before, that gave us the mental body and the epigenetic overlay. Number 2, when we activated number 2, that gives us the physical body and the DNA strand 2, biochemical, literally the DNA, not the overlay and not the template, but the DNA itself. And here we get the template, the DNA template actually gets the protection field running in it. So we're slowly putting together the immunity set in our bodies where we cannot be pushed into a Metatronic activation any further on each of the levels of the body. So the last one, and this is the one that's going to make the others possible, but it has, I think they transmit it last, or maybe they do these 3 all together. They haven't told me yet, but they will on the break. This one was supposed to start in FOL 11, which is January of 2011, and it wasn't supposed to complete until December of 2012, December 21st, 2012. Yeah. I wonder what we'll be doing by then. Jeez. Wonder if we'll still be here by then. I have a feeling this implies that showdown that they've been talking about in 2011 that was going to come first with the Ancient Arrow, Broken Arrow crew is probably now being pushed with the new what do they call it? The WAZE, Waziyenta, Twisted Gates from the Borgia side, adding their oomph to the whole thing. So where we were going to be in December of 2012, I'm not sure if it was December 21st we would be here, or they didn't give me the day, or if it was actually like December 1st or maybe December 12th, and then there was another set of things that would happen, for the 21st. They haven't told me that yet, but I have a feeling it is. I think there was around December 12th that we were supposed to finish here. I'm just getting that now because they didn't give it to me before. But we're starting that here, and we're going to be done by FOL. We'll complete this by FOL. And what this is this is what they call Communion Plane 6, the Rishaic Wayas gate sets. All right, of course, it's on Net Earth, it's the D1 etheric and the D1 encryption lattice in the Rasha crust, and on Aurora Earth, it's the Rasha Karyatric Rasha encryption lattice. So that's the blend field of those 2 sets coming together. It's the Karyatric etheric and dark matter type of matter. These are the dates we just looked at. And let's take that down to this one now, please. Down here, it corresponds to the D1 mirror ball and the D1 encryption lattice. It controls the density 5 light body and the D15 atoms, which again, these are Rishi level identity. Okay, it's located in the lower to middle mantle in the A1 platform, the Aurora 1 platform, and those vertical maps that we've done. Okay, the net, and it's not exactly called a net, it's called a harness, because it's beyond just the net layers that that we've seen in the planetary grids, and they go into the solar system grids and the galactic grids, etc. But this is actually called the pKa Akasha 8, which is our parallel Akasha, where they had the 4 Vecas fall to form the Borgia black hole system. And it links into our parallel Vecca 2. We're in Vecca 5, and 2 is our parallel, which is our parallel Milky Way system, or Vecca level Milky Way system. And it's called the Wazi Yenta. It's supposed to be a Y. You probably couldn't read my writing. I understand why. So it's Wazi Yenta, Y-E-N-T-A, harness. And there's a harness field where they link through from here to Vecca 2, through the Vecca 2 parallel alpha omega system and into our system. So this is the level of net that it is going to block and create immunity to in our system. And what this will give us is where we have a freeze, where it can't mess with or make Metatronic these levels of our bodies, the density 5 Rishaic Ajay body capsule, the Rishaic capsule, the Ajay body level that we talked about, the Waya, I think they called that Waya, one of the Wa, whatever, is that density 5 level. I can't remember what it had on the end of it. But YAS silver seed Rasha 48 strand DNA core, as far as the DNA level, this corresponds to that one, the YAS silver seed, that when that sparks, it sparks open the Elon, in the Elon shield, the sets of Wa gates all the way through in the dimensional levels. And what this does is literally give us full Rishaic level protection and triggers activation of the full spectrum of the rainbow body, or the density 5 Rishaic Ajay body capsule. So this one we weren't going to do, and it wasn't going to finish until 2012, and it's going to finish now by, when is it? Oops, I can't read up there. All right. Yeah, there we go, FOL, 2011. Yeah, it's really strange at that angle. The letters change and they look like something different. So anyway, this was one of the key charts that they wanted us to understand. They wanted that datum pulled together so it would make sense what we were doing, because if it doesn't make sense, it's a bit hard to actually hold the activations. So even in the charts, as always, they form a form of optical pineal induction of huge amounts of data, again, like zip files. So that chart took a while. It says seaplanes 3 and 5 activated in April and complete in this workshop, Slider 7, May. Seaplanes 2, 4, which is the expedited 1, 1, which is expedited 2, and 6, which is expedited 3, activate in May. And SL 7, this workshop. Seaplanes 2, 4, and 1 will complete in August 2010. SL8 workshop, and Seaplane 6 will complete in January 2011 FLL workshop. So that's the basics of the most important things that we need to know about what's activating where, and who's on first, and what's happening, and what's immune and what's not immune, and what can I expect and what I can't expect. When we get through the one that, and I think it's 2, isn't it, that corresponds to, yeah, the D2 intranet, that's the biochemical net. Once that completes in August, that is going to be the point where they can't push in to the body temporarily through the biochemicals and make you, first of all, feel nuts from inside out. They can do that. We're immune on the mental body level, on D3 level, but we still have that biochemical link, which is, especially if you have, the degree of Illuminati gene codes you might have carried, from who you chose as parents, and you might have chose them as parents just so you could steal back certain codes, in the name of the Krish. You might have been a Krish being that came in on one of the Mashaya missions to actually bring back the line of certain flame codes and those kind of things. So just because you might be from an Illuminati line doesn't mean you're Illuminati consciousness. So anyway, they're tapping me on the shoulder. Time for the break so we can get to the activation. But I want to explain the activation first. Wait a minute. Let's put the next one up really quick. Okay, and this was just showing the Wazienta fall gate harness. That was the one that is coming from over here, and it's running through the Vecca level of those void fields that normally the Wa voids would plug into the Akasha level, but because they had 4 of their Veccas fall in that Akasha, the Akasha can't fall, but they were able to reverse the Vecca level and down Wa gate sets to form the WA, Wazienta gate sets, which plug into the Borgia fall matrix. And they're linking in through Vecca 2 are parallel. So this is just showing you on the maps what I was talking about, where the Wazienta are. All right, next one, please. This is just showing a little more detail about this is from, I think, 2 workshops back or so, but it shows the close-up on that map as far as where the dragon's eye is, and it's right here that the Borgia matrix interface is here. So this is where the Wazienta gates interface with the parallel system, and then the parallel system interfaces with our system over here, and this is on the Vecca level, you know, like, and then we go metagalactic, then we go galactic, you know, and all the way down. So this is showing just the context. Next one, please. I think we'll save that one for later. Yeah, and next one, please. Yeah, we'll take it. I'll point it out, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll discuss it a bit more. No, it was the other one, actually. This one is just so we kind of remember who we were talking to the other night, where it showed who was wearing what, so we can remember their symbolic clothing. So, you know, we remember how, you know, the visuals that they gave us to use with them. But remember, they are conscious air, but they are fully conscious, and they'll interact with us in these kind of like their family garb. I don't know why they chose the symbology they did, and I'm sure at some point they'll start changing clothes for different purposes and functions and, you know, meanings for you when you start to interact personally. But this just shows, you know, the families, the names, what path they serve, and what, like, gate codes they hold, what gates they, you know, they can open. And most importantly, a little reminder of what they looked like. They're all white, you know, like powder, like translucent powder colored light beings, but they all have different kinds of you know, symbolic clothing in their presentation to us. So that imagery helps a lot when we're working at them, and, you know, working with, communing with them, and working with using visualization and that kind of stuff. So that one's there, and the one I'll leave up here when we go to break, I just want to put it on, was the next one, please. The last one. Well, let me see what is the second to last one, because the little diagram that I did. Yeah. Oh, the one with the map we'll talk about later, after the activation. Yeah. These little sets of diagrams, we'll talk about them more before we go into the technique. But I just wanted you to see that they're here, because there's certain aspects. This goes with the technique, which is called preparing your mirror for YAS, communication, projection, projecting, and contact. These are reference diagrams. I only did them for the ones that would be really, really confusing if you didn't see some kind of, what are they talking about there, right? Some, like, where your position is, what constructions of energy are forming around you. So we'll talk more about these right before we go into it, and I also will do probably a bit of a rundown before we launch into the technique itself. So, you know, you just have an idea of how it's going to move from one thing, you know, to another kind of thing. But these will be the steps. This goes with part 2, which is called parting the veil of Wa. The veil of Wa is what they're referring to as that veil that we've stepped through before in the techniques that we did in the last workshop. All right, so parting the veil of Wa. And there's several, I forget how many steps there are. I think there's 11 or more. But this shows the ones that were a bit more confusing, like step 5, step 7, step 9, and step 10 is shown, because they were a little bit hard to just visualize in words if you didn't see the diagrams. So we'll come back. They said take about a 20-minute break. We'll come back and immediately go into just looking at these a little bit more closer, explaining what you're looking at, and then doing really quick, first we'll do this one, then we'll do this one, we'll do this, and then we will go into the technique. And at the end of this technique, the part that is not in writing is simply the part, once you've made the connection, we'll go to a certain step, because there's 2 steps you can use afterward when you get home. And there's one that even tells you if you want to start projecting in your sleep, how to do that. like how to begin that process. But we'll go up to the certain point where we are in Patra stance, and then I will take the wave live with them, because that is where they want to transmit those three, the frequencies for those three activations, the three expedited activations, to begin the activation of your rainbow body. So we will get to that point. And then the other couple of steps, we'll just read through them real quick, and they're the ones you can do at home after you run this exercise at home and get your mirrors going. Then there's ways you can use it for just general communion, like you will do here, moving into it. But there's also ways to the beginning process of projecting when you go to bed at night, of how to get yourself to start going on journeys with your Wa companion. So we'll go into that when we get back. So 20-minute break, and we will be back and go right into technique. I'm getting away with a cold. Hey, they made it. Thank you, Matt, for taking them. That's good, because you can follow along then with the one main technique that has several parts. That's from this workshop. It starts on page T1, and it goes through to page T6. Is this diagram, I believe, or is it 7? It's T7, I think this is actually. So there's 1 through 6 is the written version of what will be read. And then when we get toward the end of that, there is a live wave bit that when we get those 3 level of activations, once we make the contact, before we come back out of that. All right. So I just want to go over the steps a little bit with you with this, just to point out the various parts. We have one that starts with securing the mirror field to the Christic spectra, and this is where we activate our orb pillar and the density 5 Waya Rishaic capsule. And then there's the next part that's called parting the veil of Wa. And as you read through the technique, you start to understand what the veil of Wa is, and to put it shortly, that's that veil that we've used in the other techniques, where they just called it like on the other side of the veil, where we had net Earth here, and the other time wave of the aurora Earth over there, and that was the veil that's in between it, and now they've named it as the veil of Wa. And in this part, in parting the veil of Wa, there's a really important part that you can even use this part just separate to really amp your frequency fields when you need to, and it's called activating the flame of Walea. And this is really cool, the flame of Walea. That was really, really neat, and it answered a question that I've had in my mind for quite a while, not just with the Was, or maybe they were Was that they just didn't identify themselves, but for at least a year I've had periodic experiences in the dream state or in sati states, when I just went under just for a bit of journey and going to one of the temples, where I was meeting certain light beings that looked similar to how these guys are presenting, but they had this flame, this big flame in the heart chakra, and some of them were the color of this one, but some were other colors too. But it's like, what is that? It's not at the Azare, it's not at the Carinatas, it's kind of in between at the heart chakra. And this kind of answered some of those questions anyway, of who are these guys, right? It implies something, and it implies levels of activation of the rainbow body, the density 5, Rishaic body. So this is one of the strongest activations. Just this part alone that we have ever done is in the parting of the veil part, where you go through the flame of Walea activations, and you actually bring that into activating the rainbow body, the density 5 Rishi rainbow body. So that was an exciting part that I had no idea it was there. It's funny because I've had certain flame training, but it's like they walked me through. The beloveds walked me through. I didn't know how to go through a mirror myself, from the astral, or even for Jade or anything. But I would find them taking me through, and going back and forth, and me getting used to the sensations and those kind of things. But they never had, on a conscious level, trained me on, okay, what did I just do? How did I do that? I couldn't do it if they weren't there, to almost like open the door or window for me. And now we're starting to learn how to do that consciously ourselves and to meet them halfway. So this is exciting for me too, because I've experienced some of the effects, but not knowing how to, make those effects occur on my own. So it's really neat when you start going with that. You'll probably end up, if you work with this technique on a conscious level, like they said, at least once a week for a year, you'll definitely establish, a more strong link and contact. Many of you will be able to actually see your host on the other side and communicate with them as you hold the patra stand and all of that. And you may also find it happens frequently that in the dream state, or if you start going into like sadhis where you just need short naps here and there or whatever, that you may find yourself picking up with them and like going through mirror training where they're actually teaching you to feel the sensations of taking your jade body through mirrors and those kind of things. So doing the technique on the conscious level is just the beginning. And there's a little bit at the end where you can begin projecting when you go to sleep, where you project right through into the mirror. So I was excited when I saw some of these things, like, finally I get to learn how I was doing what they were having me do. Right? So, okay. Transcendental flame of Waleya. Yeah, 3 flames. There's a certain point where we end up with 3 flames of Waleya, and then we bring them all together and expand them out, and they become the activated rainbow body of the density 5 rishi level. Let's see. Then there's another part of parting the veil of Wa to form the window of Wa field within your mirror. Now all of these, they're phrased within like as if you were working with your mirror, and you need to, for this particular exercise and for the starting exercises, you need to work with your mirror like hanging on a wall in front of you or propped on a wall in front of you on a vertical plane, because it will change what vortices you end up working with if you started on a horizontal plane. And first you need to open the vertical plane sets. So you start with the mirror on a vertical. Even if you're like doing a little hand mirror, don't set it on a table. Hold it up in front of you like this so you can work with it vertically. Okay, and later, I think in other classes, they will, advance us and teach us how to use the horizontal ones and probably what the difference is and, what takes you where kind of thing. But to get into the fields that they're trying to get us into now, you would need to use it on the vertical, as if it were a mirror on the wall that you could walk through eventually someday, right, with your body like a doorway. But for now, we're doing window, and I think there's a way eventually they will have this open to become a doorway. There's another set of activations that will take the window into becoming a doorway. It has to do with being able to bring more of your molecular structure through, your atomic structure. Okay, so at certain points, as we're working with to form the window of Wa field in your mirror, it also has to do with, now when we're doing this here, the mirror plane, there's a concept referred to as the mirror plane. That means the plane that the mirror would be hanging on. If you were looking at a wall and the mirror was hanging on that wall that the mirror is resting on is the mirror plane. And in front of that is the room that you are in, or the space that you are in, and behind that, as if the mirror opened up through itself, that behind the mirror area, that is where we're going to open up the Wa fields. Now, because we're not using a mirror right now, we don't really have to. We can also use this technique to literally create your own mirror in space right in front of you. And you would literally put the palms on the mirror plane, but the mirror plane in that form would be referred to as the target area. So you would have a target plane, and that is the plane where your hands, your palms, and I'd put both palms up, but I'm holding stuff with this one, so you'd have your target plane, which is your mirror plane. And then there are certain things you do that go beyond, that go 6 feet beyond where that is. Now, if you're using a mirror, it would be 6 feet into the mirror, right? As if the mirror extended back 6 feet, and you do certain things with that. When you're not using a mirror, or you're just like imagining that there's a mirror there, you're actually using the target plane, and you're doing, projecting it out 6 feet in front of you. It means you're actually creating the field right in the air around you. And all of the things that would happen when you hear the word, like, on the mirror plane, this is in front of the mirror, this is in back of the mirror, it can also mean the front and back, like the front side being where you are, and the back side of the target area, or that target plane. So, you can think, when you're here, you can think of the mirror plane is that target field, where my palms are resting against, as it was a flat plane like a mirror would be. and you will get the same effect. So you don't always have to have a mirror, but they did say it is worth working for the first couple of years actually with the mirrors themselves, because it actually amplifies. There's something about the molecular lattice of the substances that the mirror is made out of will actually amplify the effect and strengthen it. So it's worth using them. But you can also play with, like, going for a walk in the woods or whatever, and creating these spaces. And it would be literally creating mirror windows, spaces that you can go sit in and meet with your yes host. So it's, it has numerous applications in that regard. And we all don't have mirrors sitting in front of us right now, so we will be using the target plane, but we will still read using just the mirror, using the mirror plane effect, and as if we were using the mirror. So just your target area is your mirror. And again, you can do the same thing, and we recommend you do with a literal mirror when you get home and do these exercises. Okay, so in dealing with forming the window of Wa field within your mirror or within your target area and the space in front of you, we'll be using things called like the spark of Wa, and there's actually 3 sparks of Wa, and there's certain things we do with those, and all of these go into creating the window of Wa effect. There's a point before all this where you actually activate our orb pillar using the orb flows from the ASAES reservoirs at Earth's core, and really amplifying them and bringing up a very, very strong orb pillar all around us, like a swirling pillar of orbs. So there's various levels. Before we do the orb pillar thing before we go into activating the flame of Walea. And we do that before we go into activating the Wa window. So that, these are stages of activations that do need to occur, and they needed them to occur before they could transfer to us those last 3 activations that are actually ahead of their time, but are needed right now. Okay, so let's see. At a certain point, we end up with the what's called a spherical Waea field window that they just simply call a Waea sphere. After we go through several things, some of which are in the later steps, are illustrated here because they might be a little bit hard to go, what was that? Right in the in the writing. So the illustrations are there to give you a basic idea. I didn't have long to scratch these down. They're very rough, but they should give you the basic idea of where you are, where the mirror is, or where the target area is, and where the vortices are opening up, moving away from you, either through the mirror or into the space past your target plane. Okay, and I will go through these just briefly so you see basically what we're talking about. Somebody asked a question earlier, what is the Patra stance? We've used that in like the upgraded marriage ceremonies and that kind of thing, and I'll just demonstrate it here. Now, a Patra stance is something you can do with another person too, in 3D. It doesn't have to be just something you do with a mirror. That goes on top of that. Okay, so would you demonstrate Patra stance with me, please? Just demonstrate.
Do I need this?
No. Patra stance is simply, and there's a synchronized breathing where one inhales and the other exhales. You're supposed to synchronize. I love you. We're almost synchronized. I love you. And while you're doing that, I'll go back on the mic here, but that showed the pose. Okay, that showed the pose. And you're basically supposed to synchronize the breathing rhythms where one literally goes and exhales as the other's going and inhaling, and you create this wave form, right? And then you expand the breathing through the chakras, where you're breathing through the palms and the chakras full on, and it creates a massive communications link. And it's used for certain types of grid work between people who are very close, or who even if they're not like partners or anything, but trust each other and feel they really want to amplify their fields together. Or it's also used as part of the the sacred coupling and thing, yeah. Somebody said sex. Yeah, the sacred sex. No, I just... I'm an asexual android, don't pick on me. Anyway, I blush. But anyway, but it is also something, it is a form of making love that is not about sexuality. It can be, taken into that to actually heighten and deepen the experience. But it is also the way of forming a wave of direct cognition communication, where it's not just like a linear language where you're telepathing. You can start telepathing, but it goes into just direct cognition. And there's a lot of other things you can actually do with that and take it past a Patra stance, and then actually gets into like the sacred sex stuff. Eventually they'll go into that again, but first you got to get your field straightened out. And once we're on Metatronic freeze, where we're not worried about going Metatronic or somebody pushing us over into Metatronic because we did couple with them or something, they'll get into those later. The advanced level is the sacred sex workshops. So this isn't about sex, and the YAS are not interested in that kind of engagement. They aren't. They're conscious air. They're really beyond the concept. They can appreciate it, but they're not going to go there with you. And if anything tries to pretend it's one of them that's trying to go there with you, it isn't one of them, and don't go for it. It's something trying to trick you. Okay? Aw.
Bad news. No.
Sorry.
I mean sorry. I just supporting your point that if they pretend that they want to...
Yeah, because none of the guardian groups will approach you in that way at all. And if somebody's trying to do that, it is not a guardian group. It's somebody trying to pretend they are one to get access to you at whatever level. So you just... we're still on, astral sex ban, right? Because things have tried and have succeeded in really messing with the human race for eons by using that approach, and also the one on the physical. Now we're getting progressively more immune to where those kind of things can't harm us anymore, but we're not fully, all of our layers aren't fully integrated on the Metatronic freeze yet. So as far as the beloveds go, and the yes, they are not ever going to approach you that way. They're not going to swap body fluids. They're not going to play with body parts, those kind of things. They won't go there, right? They're very respectful. And not that you can't go there and be respectful, but it's not the context to do that in. They are right now our hosts and our teachers and mentors, and they're not supposed. Just like you wouldn't, that it is a spiritual violation for, say, an adult person to actually interface with a child, right? In that way, because the child does not fully understand the act, and it is taken advantage of. That is considered a spiritual violation. Just like we have predatorial people on this planet that are pedophiles and those kind of things, and some people have those urges, and it doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It means something's trying to use their field to get at something else that's innocent and easier to get at, that kind of thing. So not all pedophiles are horrible. It's an urge that does create a spiritual violation toward the younger one. And that is what it would be if these guardian races that are assisting us, if they approached us in this way. It is no different than if an adult approached a 2-year-old. And that was just, there is no excuse for it. So they would never, ever do that. There is not a context where that is considered all right in the Christian guardian worlds, because it is a spiritual violation. And by the way, if there's anybody that has issues with pedophilia and those urges, realize that it is something trying to push you into that direction, to use your body as to feed off of another source of energy. And children still have a lot of quantum left in their energy. They haven't expanded and grown. They're not tired and worn out. They're not near mana depletion. So very often that urge comes from things that are attached to a person's field that makes them crave having that kind of closeness with somebody that is inappropriately, aged and that kind of thing. So both sides get victimized. The child does, but so does the person that's being used like that. So anyway, I'm not going to go off onto that tangent. Save that for another workshop. Save that for the Sacred Sex Advanced workshops whenever they occur. But I just wanted to let you know that that is why they just will not do that. They will not go there. And if you're getting any interaction like that in the astral or anything like that, realize that is not the guardians. They are not Christian and say, no, thank you, right? Because they just won't go there with you because of the, the pedophilic relationship with what that would mean. So anyway, past that, now that we know that we don't have to worry about that kind of patra stance happening, right? It's an innocent, pure androgy asexual, which means not, it's just not, has no sex drive involved with it. It's a different kind of love. It is very loving. It is a way of making love emotionally and mentally and spiritually, but not taking it into the genetic bonding levels that can occur when you bring it into the sexuality part. So just so you know that. And again, if you get anybody that's actually trying to get touchy-feely with you, or even like swap body fluids, like even French kissing is considered, in the sexual category. So they won't go there. They hug, but they won't touch what we might consider private parts, those kind of things. If they ever need to do healing work on you, they will go over private parts, but they will not touch the skin. They will just, do the energy work. So this is how they will operate, just so you know. So nothing else might try to come in. Because when you start, moving with this, there's still the parts of the gene code, your own gene code, that aren't fully healed. And even when we get Metatronic block on the biophysical level, with the finishing of the D2 levels of the activation that will finish by October, there's still the levels. We won't go any further with Metatronic activation, but there's still the detritus clearing off from the levels that we had before. So you may still get weird stuff flying up in the mirrors when you're playing with them, and if you do that, just realize, no, and you have no power over me. Realize you're just watching some purging happening through, out of your own field. So if you see things coming up in the mirror after you, they can't hurt you, all right? And that wouldn't be the case if it weren't for this process of preparing the mirror and sealing it into the Wa fields. That is what is giving you the protection, where it's through those Wa fields. It can show itself, it can bounce itself off the mirror, but it cannot harm you or get into your DNA or your body. And actually, if you're seeing it, it's actually coming through your DNA and your body anyway, like detritus, coming off. So anything that tries to scare you, that you might come up before you're able to reach the one you're trying to reach, if that happens, it won't happen to everybody, but if it does, realize you can, in absolute confidence, say, you cannot harm me. Go your way. And, or something to that effect. You say it with absolute calmness and just know. Because that is a secured mirror, it is a secured field. But that's always, we also said to get, it's best to get a virgin mirror, right? So you don't have like grandma's demons or something, hanging out with you or anything like that if they happen to be in the family, So, all right, that's another point that I wanted to bring up, just in case those things happen. And I might as well bring this point up now really quick. Nason had asked, and it was really funny, like a wave, it came through him. He asked me right before we got off stage, when we took the break, and about 4 or 5 other people by the time I got outside asked me, it's like, well, can we share mirrors? Especially like if you're putting one, behind the bed so you can project into it, if you're couple or whatever. Yes, you actually can. You would each go through on your own frequency and meet your own, even if they're 2 different ones and not even on the same levels, that's fine. And you can do it at the same time if you want, or you can do it at separate times if you want, but you're not going to trip over each other. That, if you each do it at different times, you will each get clear access on your own lone harmonic. So you don't have to worry about that. But it's also good too to have a personal mirror that you key to that part of the community mirror, let's say, a mirror that you're sharing. And that can be even something small, like I'm getting the kind of like a little giggle effect where like those little compact mirrors that, ladies tend to use, even like one of those that's kind of like, the Beam Me Up Scotty communicator or whatever. Right, that you can do smaller type work, but use try to use a larger one that you can use even if you put it horizontally, like the ones that you use for dressing that are quite skinny but they're long. You can even run something like that, like over your headboard or something, behind your bed, and just kind of go, and drift up and through it when you're going to sleep at night, that kind of thing. But yes, you can share those, and you'll still go in on your lone harmonic unless you both consciously choose to try to bring your Wah host in, and then the four of you go off and do something, and learn something together. You can also do those, but for now, start with your individual one, and and even if you're going to use the group mirror, start at different times. Where you each have, say, a private session with the mirror to make your connections and that kind of stuff before you worry about combining that with another person. Get your connection strong first. Okay, I just want to show you some of these steps here. They go with the part 2 parting of the veil of Wah, and part B of that, and steps 5, step 7, and step 9, and step 10 were the ones that are just a little tricky if you don't have a bit of a visual. So I'll just describe what the visual is showing, and when you get to those steps, you'll see what the words are. Oh yeah, that's what they mean by the Wah spark triangulation, right, in step 5, where it's simply, this is looking at, if that's you standing there right in front of the mirror, and that line is actually your mirror plane or your target plane, right, your target area plane, and the little balls there there's a certain point in there where you're delivering sparks, like 3 Wah sparks. So little balls that look like they're on the tips of the fingers, they're actually like the ones coming out of the palms that are on the mirror. And then going into the mirror, 6 feet inward, right, which is away from you. It's going into the mirror, but away from you and away from that plane, would be the third one that comes from the heart chakra area in this exercise, in this step. So, and they make a triangulation. So it's called the Wah spark triangulation, and when they say that, that's what they're referring to. And that's just looking at it as if you're looking down on the person doing it. So you can see the triangle that forms between the 3 sparks. So there's a spark at the tip and one on the mirror plane where you have the 2 sparks in the palms. Okay. And see this the way the diagram is. It says, the mirror plane or the target area. That is what that line is. So that would be that. Either the wall where the mirror is or the target area plane that you've put in front of you, where your hands stop, right? And then you project to that point 6 feet away from there, either through the mirror or just in front of you. Now, and there's a step 6 after that, and then step 7 is another one that it wouldn't hurt to have an illustration of, and that's why we tried to scratch one here. This is looking at it from a different perspective. This is looking at it, I should probably go on this side of the stage, or I'm going to make myself totally dyslexic. Because the illustration is done as if you're standing, as if your wall is here, right? And your mirror plane is here, or your target area, and you're standing in front of it, and it's showing what is called the Akasha Merkaba Wah vortex. At a certain point, that as you move through step 6, this pops open. All right, this vortex pops open, and what it first does is as if a doorway shaped like a Kathara grid, like a flat, just like an opening shaped like a Kathara grid, opens in front of you on the mirror plane, and then going back to that point, 6 feet in the mirror or 6 feet in front of you, a horizontal Akasha Merkaba forms, right? The top part of the Merkaba. All right, so you've got this vortex opening in the mirror at this point, this Christic vortex opening in the mirror. And then there's a couple other things that you do. And we get to step 9, and this gets into the YAS host in the Wah vortex in the mirror. All right, so you do certain other things, through the steps to get to 9, and then at that point you can take your hands off the mirror and you just sit down in front of it, and this is like the floor, right, in the room where you're sitting, or the floor in the space that you're at. And again, where that door is the mirror plane or the plane of the target area, and this point is the 6 foot into the mirror point or the 6 foot in front of you point, and halfway in, about 3 feet in front of you, or 3 feet into the mirror. That's where you'll end up seeing your YAS host in their Jade orb. So they'll come in and orb first, right? And this is where if you end up with 2 popping up, it's because of that you had an affiliation with one group, but you actually have the Rishi contract with the other, so they will both work with you. So if you end up with 2, that's okay. You just need 4 hands. No, they're saying if that occurs, then it is the one that is that's you're on Rishi contract with that that will come to do the Patra stand with you, because that will there's a link between your entire Rishi contract and that particular group, so you need the codes that one would give you, and you can work with the other one for other things, but that one would come to you as in the Patra. So this is just showing you this is going off into the mirror or into that point in front of you. And there's another step. When we get to step 10, it says the Vaya sphere and Va window of communion. All right. Now, this again is the same thing as this, right? There's your mirror wall. Here's you sitting in front of your mirror. And this is like the line of your floor. And this is where your wall would go up, and that's where your mirror is. And so you're like, sitting on the floor. And even if you're not using the mirror, if you're just using the space in front of you, you don't have to have your hands there anymore. You've already got the target plane area, designated. It already has its open window in it. And it already has the first vortice, right, that goes 6 feet that way. So you're kind of sitting in front of that. But there will be a point in this, in the steps in 10, and in the things you do in step 10, that the whole thing will pop, and you'll end up with another vortice. Again, its base being right here at the plane, but this one will go horizontally out this way, 6 feet behind you, and there will be another one simultaneously, as if there was a Cathara grid running through that plane, that same plane, right? But left to right, and that one will pop up a 6-foot top one, top vortice, and a 6-foot going down into the floor, right on that, right, with half of it would be on your side of the plane and half on the other side of the plane with all of them. And when that occurs, it creates this Vaya sphere all the way around you. It's a protected sphere, and it is literally made out of the Vaya frequency bands, which are those that are the combined of the Akasha or higher level of the light body and an Adashi cycle. And the first level will be the Adashi 1 cycle and the Akasha level and the Aurora frequencies. So it will literally create this waveform around you. You'll be sitting in this half of it, the half that comes this way from the ones that are sticking out that way, and the half of the top and bottom ones. And then the other part will go through the wall and through the mirror. And if they're not using a mirror, it will go through that plane, and the orb will continue into the other side of it. And in the other side, that's where your Vayas host will be. And at a certain point, there you actually assist it to come forward and then to bring itself out of orb form. First it goes into a pillar right in the plane. It's still on its side, right? It's still on the other side, the mirror side or the Vaya side. And it will first turn into a pillar, an orb pillar, kind of like a undulating orb pillar, and then condense itself and start to take form into the light being. And once and it will be wearing the symbolic clothes of its clan, let's say, that it showed us in symbolic. And at that point, it will go into Patra, stand with you. And when we get to that point in the steps, in the written technique, then it goes into what you can do with that, and when you're doing it at home by yourself. But at that point, we're going to go off, and they're going to let the wave run as far as how to get the transfer of the frequencies for those 3 expedited activations, leading to that final silver seed activation that has to do with the Rasha seed thing. So we're gonna that part isn't in the writing, but it doesn't have to be, because you only do that set once. Right? But the whole technique can be used, and if you really want to develop the ability to do this, it should be used at least once a week for a year, but you'll probably get effects a lot faster than a year. And again, if you get weird effects, you just kind of say, no, you can't. I'm watching my field purge itself. Goodbye. And if you want to end the session right then, you can, or just turn away from it for a little bit and then come back and pick up where you were and try again to communicate with your YAS host. And eventually they'll actually, help clear it from their side too, so that stuff can't mess with you, because really it's a lot of the stuff that's coming through your own field that's just purging if you see any weird stuff. Don't let the weird stuff scare you. All right? So anyway, you'd be sitting in your half of the orb, and the other would be, and at a certain point, you'd actually stand up, because it will be standing when it solidifies from its pillar, and then at that point you can stand up and meet it, on your side, and you stand up and, do patra through the mirror plane. What you can also do, if you're not using a mirror, you can actually go in to that side, where about 3 feet in front of you is that halfway point, right, where this point is like 6 feet in front of you. You can actually step through with your body and go to the 3-foot point and sit right where it will be, where it will pop up next to you, and you can do the patra right there. And that it creates a little bit different effect, but it's best to work first with the mirrors, because they will be more powerful at first, and they will actually assist you in developing the power to be able to hold that set without the mirror amplification. And then you can do things like just create the field and go sit on that middle spot in the Wa field itself. But first it's getting the Wa field set, and the part that comes through from that plane, across where the veil space would be, but the veils have been parted. The veils have been parted by the window. Eventually we'll turn that window into a doorway. So this is what these illustrations are. They're really rough, and because I had to do them fast, I can draw a lot better than that, but I didn't have time to draw a lot better than that. I was already 8 hours late, according to clock time anyway. But this is just, to help you see what the steps are talking about. So basically, it's pretty self-explanatory as far as reading it when you go home. And what we need to do now is Asan is going to read it, and at a certain point, when we get, let me see what step it is. Where's this? I need to see the last page.
The very last page.
Yeah, I need to see what's 60 stress.
It's 15, 9, 10, 11,
That's 10.
11, 12.
All right, it's right in this step here. What step is that? 12. That's 12. All right, in step 12. Okay.
So what, step 12 you want me to do?
Okay, in step 12, right here, this is where we return to normal breathing, and all right, I'll even read this to them. On the last page of this technique, the page before the illustrations, there's the X11, or which is the 12 in Roman numerals, right? Step 12. It says, return to normal breathing, and with some stuff in parens, and begin to telepath and direct cognition whatever you would like to say or ask your host, right? That's the point where if you want these 3 activations, expedited activations, that's what you telepath in this particular instance. And any other time when you're doing it at home, you can talk about anything you want and ask any questions you want. But this time it's to get, if you want to receive those 3 activations, the expedited activations, that's when you say, would you please, please, I would like to receive those. And then the sentence continues, then breathe normally for a minute to receive the direct cognition, telepathic communication from your YAS host. And it's at that point that they will send them, but they will probably give me narrative wave run right there to show what is occurring, to narrate what is occurring. So that's the only thing. That part will differ right there, and that's where we'll take it at step 12 on that last page. That's where we'll take it into the finishing of the live wave run. But after that, it goes into step 13. It's like when you get to the step 12 at home, you just do it the way it's written there. And then you can converse as long as you want. And when you're done, you just say, bye, and until next time. And then the other steps, like 13 through 15, are just for when you're home, what you can do, with this process as you begin to build. So we're going to go up to step 12, and it's in step 12 that you will ask, when it's when it says, begin to telepath your direct cognition, whatever you would like to say, that's when you say, I would like to. And if you could also say, well, I'm not ready to, but I'll do it later, but I'd still like to be here and watch or communicate. You telepath what it is you feel most comfortable with, but it is in step 12 that you will, telepath your communication to your Wayesa. Wayesa. Yes. Yes. Yes, YAS. Host is good. Yeah, and then that is where we will deviate off, and they will say anything that they want me to narrate as far as what that transfer, when they telepath back to you, they will be transmitting back to you, and they'll probably show me what that looks like, and say whatever they say. I don't know what they're going to say, but anyway, that's how that works. So you have it. They gave us the technique that we had to use tonight to get these activations, but it's also the technique that is good to go for at least a year, and there'll be things you can add to this. There'll be techniques that they progressively add to this, and how to amplify, from window to doorway at a certain point, and there'll be more and more progressive things, but this will always be like a core technique to get your mirror set and get your Wa field open. And so it's like a ground technique that a whole bunch of others will plug into that will be used over and over again. Okay, I think that covers it. Yeah. No, it doesn't, but it as long as either if you're sitting on a chair when it's time to sit in front of it, that it's like not up here where you're kind of going like, hello, right? Yeah, I mean, if it's sitting on the floor, then you can sit on the floor and you're right there, right? But you can sit on a chair if you need to at the sitting stage, just so you can reach it comfortably and, at least look face to face and, do the patra with the hands, with the being, on the other side. Yeah, so if it's up too high, you'll be like, I can't reach your hands kind of thing, and you won't be able to see. So as if it were a real window, where you could look right out and touch the other being. All right, we have one, and it's the art-shaped thing, and I think it came from the catalog company called Touch of Class. They have this catalog that they send out. It was like 3 or 4 years ago we got them. And they weren't too expensive either, but they're literally like walk-through size mirrors, and they have iron gates, things like wrought iron gates that can open, and we usually have them open, but they can also close. And because the mirrors weren't fully set before, because they didn't have this level of sealing technology, if the mirrors ever felt funny, we charged the gates, right? And we painted them silver and charged the gates, and we closed them if the mirror felt weird. And it literally created a screen block where it couldn't get weird. Then we'd open up again, and they were really neat. I think they were only about $270, but they were like person size, with big iron gates on them. You don't have to do that. You don't have to get one that big. But we do have them where it literally sits on the floor and is mounted flat against the wall. And that comes in handy because you can sit on the floor in front of it. You can also lay on the floor in front of it to do the projections through it and those kind of things. So it doesn't have to be an expensive mirror. What is good though, if you're going to get just like, even a small inexpensive one, you may want to sometimes, even though these will be very, very protected and sealed, you may want to just have like a little cloth or scarf that you drape over it that means, okay, closed for the day or whatever, that kind of thing. And sometimes the beloveds may ask us if there's grid disturbances or something that in any way create a flux in that protection field. They may ask us to like have a charged scarf or a set of wrought iron gates or whatever that you can put over the mirror. That really is, the object is actually just holding a field of intent of extra sealing that you are putting on, and that will assist the beloveds in creating an extra seal on it too, in the event that it ever needs it. Okay. I'm asking. Yeah, there really isn't, but it is better to concentrate on just a few in key locations, locations that you would want to do projections from or want to have communication in. You can have other mirrors in your house too, and just seal them with like the first part where you're bringing in the orb gel and that kind of stuff, and just seal them so no other yucky stuff can come through, but don't activate them to where they're all communicators, because you'll actually, it's like you'll be able to generate X amount of quantum in your field with these activations. And if you spread it out among too many, you're actually going to lessen the charge on each of them. So like create a primary mirror, a little travel mirror, right, as your communicator, right, when necessary, that's keyed to the other one. In fact, when you do the charge on the first mirror, you can have the little one with you. So you actually charge both of them, just kind of like stand it up, so it's also on the same plane as the big one. You can actually do up to 3 that way, they said. You could like do a small, medium, and the biggest one, right, together, so you can get, 3 to work with. But they don't recommend right now more than 3. You can do it later, as far as activating them as doorways and stuff, but it will just it'll diffuse the charge a bit. So you're better off doing 3 with a concentrated charge, one small one that you can carry with you, just like a little compact, and another whatever size you want, and another biggest one that would be, if it ever activated and they said walk through it now, you can, that you could, right, where you're not trying to squeeze through an 8.5 by 11 picture frame. You know what I mean? Like, my shoulders are stuck. Yes, okay. Anyway, we need to get on with this now. Okay.
This window, which is all paid for.
What? Oh, okay. When's it over? Okay, what time is it?
It's 4 after 8.
Oh, okay. Fine.
We've got basically an hour to get done.
Yeah, we're just trying to make sure we don't have you miss your breakfast window, that you have to get your breakfast by a certain way, because you have, it's part of your, what you paid for in coming to the trip. So
Well,
we will get it done in
window.
time for you to get to your 10 o'clock breakfast.
They have a wow window with the waffles, can't they?
A wild window. with
Wow
waffles.
window with the waffles, yes.
So I'm
Here you
going to
go.
leave this up too for when we get to those steps. If anybody needs to look at that again, it's there.
So, you'd just like to complete your preparation and regulate your breathing a little bit. As we approach the core technique from Slider 7, Sarasota, May 2010, entitled Preparing Your Mirror for Guaya's Communication, Projection and Contact. This technique is also used for activating the Assayas Orb Master Wave Pillar. And before we begin, and in particular for the reference of those who don't have the privilege of being with us today, we are making clear and emphasizing that throughout this technique, your mirror must be placed and kept on a vertical plane and not placed horizontally at any time or for any reason. The technique...
Because you just added words to that.
No, they're here. Don't look.
No, I need to say something before it gets confusing. I'm sorry. In terms of at any time laying them horizontal, that doesn't apply to the compact mirror. So it's okay if it ends up horizontal in your purse or your pocket. I just needed to clarify that since you went that far with the explanation. Okay?
Good. Very good. And so, before we begin, just to summarize this briefly, the hard copy of the technique, which will be enclosed with the product package, reveals that there are 3 parts in the structure of the technique, comprising 4 main sections, which are, from part A, securing the mirror field to crystallic spectra. Still in part A, parting the veil of Wa. Part B focuses on parting the veil of Wa to form the window of Wa field within your mirror. And part C is devoted to the patricommunion, contact with your Wayas host. So now we'll begin with securing the mirror field to Christic spectra, which is about setting the Assayas orb gel field from Earth core Assayas orb reservoir into the space between the front and back sides of the mirror. So we begin now by inhaling the Assayas orb master wave up from Earth core orb reservoir to your Azare. And this inhale will be followed by an exhale, a 24-point orb burst from the Azare outwards through your 12 Alarayan chamber lines and 12 fire chamber lines. If you exhale now, just breathe normally and sense that a massive pillar of swirling Assayas orbs pops out around you and within you. The diameter of the orb pillar will extend from your central vertical column within and outward to a 6-foot diameter running through and around your body. The vertical extension of the orb pillar will run up from the orb reservoir at Earth core, through and beyond your body, and all the way up the dimensional scale to the Rasha core of your D15 Rashik body, and outward to the DN5 Waya Rishik capsule. Now, place both palms on the mirror's front surface, or in this case the target area, since we're not actually working with the mirror, and inhale orb currents from your orb pillar into the Azare and the Carinadis seal. Hold this breath, and then firmly exhale Ayayas orb flow currents from the Azare and the Carinadis seal down your arm channels, out your palms, and into the space between within the mirror or the target area. Hold for a moment at the bottom of the exhale. Now, twice more, inhale the orb currents from your orb pillar into the Azare and Carinadis seal. Hold, then firmly exhale the Ayayas orb flow currents from the Azare and Carinadis down your arm channels, out your palms, and into the target area. Just hold again briefly, and then one more inhale, repeating this process. Currents from your orb pillar into the Azare Carinadis seal, hold it, then firmly exhale the Ayayas flow currents from the Azare and Carinadis down your arm channels, out your palms, and into the space between. That's in your target area. And just breathe easily for a moment. Imagine that you can see the entire mirror field fill with orbs and which grow in number. Now breathe normally and take your palms down, away from the mirror, in other words. Observing that the orb field you set within the mirror, the target area, solidifies slightly to form a moist, gel-like orb field of pale golden silver color. Just observe or intend the orb field you set solidifies slightly and is forming an orb field of pale golden silver color. And move on now to parting the veil of Wa. It involves making your mirror or your target space an Adashi protected window for communication and projection through the Meshayahanic Wayaya fields. This should always be done immediately following the first part, which we just completed, for activating the flame of Walaya. Activating your density 5 wire capsule rainbow body, and the flame of Walaya begins now. So, for the purposes of doing this together in the workshop, you need to imagine you're standing several feet away from your mirror or target area, and breathe slowly and deeply with your eyes closed. And as you're doing that, raise your hands to shoulder height in front of you. And this is something you'll need to do, but you'll have to have your elbows bent back a little bit. Your palms will be facing forward. And try and sense the presence of the blend field veil, the veil of Wa, which exists actually between Net Earth and Aurora Earth. This is directly in front of you, just in front of your palms. As you sense the veil of Wa in front of you, inhale slowly and deeply, drawing orb flow from your orb pillar into your Azarae Incarnatus seal. Hold for a moment at the top of the inhale, allowing orb flow to fill your Azarae Incarnatus, and then exhale slowly, keeping the orb flow within the Azarae Incarnatus seal. Now repeat this step. This is step 2 that we're doing of the second part. Do it 2 more times to amplify the orb flow quantum in your Azarae Incarnatus seal. Just inhale slowly and deeply, drawing orb flow from your orb pillar into your Azarae Incarnatus seal. Hold for a moment at the top, allowing orb flow to fill your Azarae Incarnatus, and then exhale slowly, keeping the orb flow within the Azarae Incarnatus seal. Once you've done this for a 3rd time, just return to normal breathing after the last exhale. And just breathe normally. The next inhale is going to involve us drawing orb flow down from the Azarae and upward. What?
Flow-filled Azarae.
I'm not giving it yet. I'm explaining what we're going to do. The Azarae itself, yes. So they join, merge. So what we're going to do is to breathe in a way where we draw the Azarae itself downwards and the Carinatus seal upwards until they meet and merge. That's essentially what I wanted to point out to you before we do it. So inhale slowly and deeply now, using the breath to draw the orb flow-filled Azarae downward and the Carinatus seal upward, literally, until they meet and merge at the center of the 4th heart chakra, around the center of your breastbone. Hold at the top of the inhale for a moment and sense a pop sensation in the heart chakra as the Azarae and Carinatus merge and pop into a violet-blue akasha flame about 3 inches high and centered around chakra 4, the heart chakra. This is called the transcendental flame of Waleya. Now just exhale gently and breathe normally. Now, when you're doing it at home, you'll be standing several feet from in front of your own mirror, with palms facing forward towards the veil of Wa in front of you, just as you are doing now while sitting. Inhale slowly and deeply from the flame of Waleya at your heart chakra, using the inhale breath to draw a replica of the flame of Waleya upward and into your 7th chakra at the crown. The base of the flame sitting in the pineal brain center. Hold for a moment at the top of this inhale. Next, exhale slowly downward, using the breath to push another replicate flame of Waleya downward and into the center of chakra 2 at the chakra below the navel. Return to normal breathing and observe the 3 flames of Waleya, the first at the heart center, where the Azarae and Carinatus seal merge, the second in the pineal, the crown chakra, and the third in the sacral. Then call to mind the orb flow pillar all around you. Inhale firmly into the flame of Waleya at the heart chakra number 4, using the breath to draw the top flame at at the crown chakra 7 downward, and the bottom flame at the sacral chakra 2 upward, merging the 3 flames of Walleya within the heart chakra, and hold at the top of this inhale. Now exhale firmly outward from the heart chakra in a 6-point exhale, using the breath to push a violet blue stream of Walleya flame current simultaneously outward through the 6 directions of your 4 horizontal rod chambers and 2 vertical chambers of your staff. That's to the left, to the right, front, back, up and down. Hold for a moment at the bottom of the exhale, and then return to normal breathing. And observe that the flame of Walleya has expanded far out into your 15-dimensional and into your density 5 Rishik capsule. Inhale from the orb pillar around you and into the heart chakra. Hold for a moment, then take one step, which you'll have to imagine in these circumstances. Imagine taking one step forward into the veil of Wa in front of you, palms pushing gently into and through the veil as you step forward. Standing within the veil of Wa, palms still facing forward, exhale firmly, a 24-point exhale outward from the heart chakra and into your 12 Alariyan chambers and 12 fire chamber lines. And then return to normal breathing. As you breathe normally, notice and sense that the entire veil of Wa field within which you are standing begins to tremor, vibrate and shake as its oscillation rapidly accelerates. Observe a rushing sensation as the veil of Wa field folds inward and rushes into your heart chakra 4, becoming a minute golden silver spark. Notice also that the entire veil is now gone and you are standing in free space within the crystal spiral flow of the Aurora Continuum Walleya field. You have just parted the veil of Wa. Continue to breathe easy as we move into the next section, parting the veil of Wa to form the window of Wa field within your mirror. And this can also be used to form a window of Wa in the air in front of you without a mirror, which essentially is what we're about to do together. So breathe normally and call to mind the minute golden silver spark of Wa within your heart chakra, which formed as the veil of Wa folded inward. Imagine yourself stepping forward and placing your palms directly on the surface of your mirror or onto a target area of air if you're not using a mirror, which we're not right now. Inhale into the spark of Wa at your heart chakra 4. Then exhale firmly, using the exhale. Push 2 replicate sparks of Wa outward through the palms and into the orb gel layer in the space in between the target area, to push the original spark of Wa directly from your heart chakra straight forward into and then through the target area, as if the Wa spark came out of the mirror back and just kept going to a point about 6 feet through and beyond the mirror or target area. Now inhale gently now, leaving the original spark of Wa at its position 6 feet in front of you within and beyond the mirror, or 6 feet beyond your target area in front of you. And notice the 3-point triangulation from the 2 Wa spark points on the mirror plane and the 1 Wa spark 6 feet forward beyond the mirror or target area. Now exhale gently from your palms and heart chakra, sending out 3 streams of orb flow from the orb pillar around you, 1 stream into each of the 3 points of triangulation. Just resume normal breathing and notice that the orb flow streams quickly link the 3 Wa spark points, forming a triangulation of orb flow between the 3 points. Inhale and use the inhale to bring your palms together in front of your heart chakra 4. Then exhale firmly while separating your palms and again placing them on the 2 Wa spark points on the mirror plane or target area. Just breathe normally, and as you do, notice that for a moment the whole imagery of the Wa field triangulation suddenly shuts off and disappears. Then a sudden pop sensation occurs, and in front of your palms, and the entire Wa field triangulation imagery pops back on in 3-dimensional form to create a horizontal Akasha Merkaba Wa vortex with a vertical Kathara grid-shaped window directly in front of you. The top point of the horizontal Akasha Merkaba Wa vortex is the original Wa spark, 6 feet into the mirror, or 6 feet out from the front of you. Breathe normally, and bring your arms to rest, and mentally call out the name of your Wayeus host, and observe your host appear at the center of your Wa vortex about 3 feet into the mirror, or 3 feet just in front of you as you are now. Relax and sit down in front of your mirror and project a part of your consciousness in Jade Orb into the center of your Wa vortex within your mirror. Or physically go sit with the Wayeus host 3 feet in front of you if you're not using a mirror. Notice that when you join your Wayeus host, the Wa vortex pops to become a spherical Wayea field window, which is called a Waya sphere, which forms around 4 Akasha Merkaba Wa vortices. You are now within the transharmonic transcendental window of contact and communication. And it is from this position that we move to the final section of this technique, the Patra Communion, contact with your Wayeus host. And this must be used within 24 hours of running part 2, or you must start the entire technique from the beginning. Sitting comfortably in front of your mirror or within your target area, and within your activated Waye sphere, Wayea window, and place your palms on the mirror surface within the Wa window, or palms in your target area. Mentally speak the name of your Wayeus host, and inhale into your heart chakra full and hold this breath. Exhale a 3-point breath from your heart chakra and both palm chakras into the Wa vortex center point, about 3 feet into the mirror Wayea field. Breathe normally and sense that the surface of the mirror, or target area plane, becomes slightly warm and undulates slightly, as if it were going to change from solid to liquid light waveform. Observe that your Wayeus host appears at the contact point, 3 feet into the Wayea field in the mirror, or target area. Inhale, then exhale, and send a single point orb flow current directly from your heart chakra into your Wayeus host sphere, 3 feet into the mirror, still keeping your palms on the mirror target area. Inhale gently, using the breath to draw the Wayeus host sphere toward you until it is positioned immediately in front of you, just on the other side of the mirror plane, or just outside of your target area. Exhale gently into the Wayeus host Jade Orb, immediately in front of you. Then return to normal breathing and observe that, first, your Wayeus host orb transfigures to form a swirling pillar of orbs within the mirror, or target area. Keeping your palms on the mirror, continue observing as the Wayeus host pillar flashes a pulse of gold and silver light, then materializes as the Wayeus host light being wearing the symbol clothing of its family line. Notice that your Wayeus host has placed its 6-fingered light being hands, palms facing you, on the inside of the mirror plane, target area, directly aligned with your own palms. Inhale and exhale gently from the heart chakra and from both palm chakras, using the 3-point exhale to engage and activate the Patra stance communication link with your YAS host. Inhale again to receive the 3-point orb flow from your YAS host as it exhales to your inhale. Now synchronize your breathing with your YAS host as one inhales, the other exhales, to take a moment or two to build the Patra communion circuit between you. We'll just do this for a minute or two. And eventually you will return to a normal breathing rhythm, but please remember that your breathing rhythm will remain synchronized with your host, even when you return to normal breathing. You are both breathing in a complementary way, one inhaling, the other exhaling, but more gently and slowly. And this is the point at which you may request, using direct cognition, telepath to your host, whether or not you're inclined and willing to receive the 3 activations that are available in this moment. I'm just finishing doing my little bit.
Once you have transmitted the intention that you would like to receive the 3 sparks corresponding to these activations, continue to keep in the Patra stance with your palms linked together with your host. Feel the first response of direct cognition, telepathy returning from them, acknowledging that your request has been heard, whether it was you wanted it now or later or maybe not, you have been heard. And now, for those who do choose to have these 3 activations, the expedited activations at this time, they are asking us to move our palms, keep them on the mirror plane in front of us, and bring them closer together. And our host will do the same on the other side of the mirror. And now they are asking that we just tilt the bottom part of our palms a little bit toward the mirror, which makes our fingers come a little bit backward. And the same gesture will be done by our host on the other side in the opposite direction, as if a ball of flame is going to emerge, half in your palms and half in the palms of your host. At this time, instead of synchronized breathing, we are going to breathe at the same time, where as we inhale, our host will inhale simultaneously, so we'll inhale upward and hold. And when we both exhale together, we will exhale downward inside of us to our heart chakra and push outward into the palm space in the mirror. So directly out, exhale down and then out the heart chakra. watch for a moment as a flame field builds within the space between, in the mirror field or target field in front of you. And watch as it, if it almost melts completely, the space between, and becomes a little fireball that is levitating above the four cupped hands, two on your side, two on the other. Now into this field, our host will transmit 3 pulses from his flame of Wale, her flame of Wale, from the heart chakra. Try to sense when these pulses emerge into the center point fireball. When you feel that the 3rd pulse has emerged, then take your hands away from the mirror and cup them around the fireball. And a portion of the fireball with the activations will come to you, with you, and bring it closer to your front of your heart chakra. Our host will be doing the same on its side of the Waya field. And now they're asking us to bring the fireball up closer, as if we are going to inhale it through our nose and mouth simultaneously. And take a nice, slow, deep breath through nose and mouth, and inhale the entire fireball, and feel it move right down through our lungs and actually into our heart chakra from the lung conduits. And hold at the top of the inhale. You may place your palms at rest now, but feel still the warmth of the fireball with the 3 activations in the heart chakra. And now at the exhale, we are going to push an orb flow current, bring it into the fireball, and then push upward and downward simultaneously with the exhale. When the first activation occurs, it will feel like a starburst occurs, and maybe is 4 inches across, centered on the heart chakra. So like a poof, fire burst. And then a moment or 2 later, you will feel another one that actually occurs out around your field. Maybe 6 inches above the head type diameter of a field of poof, circle, second activation. And before the 3rd one activates, you will feel a rumble in your entire field, as if your 12 Lurian chamber lines and 12 fire chambers are all starting to vibrate and oscillate, and it's sending ripples through your entire field. And in a moment, the 3rd and final activation is going to occur from the center and spread outward through your field. And when it begins, we'll inhale, and we'll do that 1, 2, and 3. Now, inhale into chakra 4. Hold for a moment. And now firmly push outward the 24-point breath of the 3rd activation. The Wayaya silver water seed is now activated in the field. It will keep the flame of Walea active within your density 5 Rishi body, the flame will go dormant. For some people it'll be about 12 hours, some 24. But you can just do some gentle Christ-star breathing again and bring in more of the orbs from your orb pillar and more of the orbs from the reservoir by using the first part of this technique. And just breathing it out to your Rishi level. And that will again activate the flame field, the flame of Valaya in your density 5 body. And at this time you have received the 3 expedited activations. They will up-step and down-step in your biofields at a rate that is compatible with your base pulse rhythms, where it doesn't overwhelm your fields or make you feel jittery or any of that. It should be a very calm and comfortable activation. But you may begin to start getting some of those perceptual shifts that we spoke of. We may get a bit of the heat flashes, cold flashes, those kind of things. Now we are still sitting in communion with our host. Our YAS host is still waiting for us and holding field with us. If you would like, you can go back into the Patra stance with the palm-to-palm stance with them to transmit a final question or comment and initiate communication and the desire to continue to communicate when you set appointments together, when you're home. When you are finished communicating what you have to say, just tell them farewell and thank them for coming. And you can take your hands from the mirror or from the target field area. And just breathe deeply and gently and move yourself outward and back into full focus in your body here. The fields will stay activated for about 12 hours the first time, as far as the YS sphere. They'll be active for about 12 hours. So if you go to sleep before that time and you want to project tonight, wherever you are, you can actually do it. Even if you are on an airplane somewhere, you can still create the image of a mirror, of your mirror behind you, and stretch out a bit in your seat and project into, you just rise upward out of your body and project into orb and move through into the YS sphere, through into the vortices on the other side, and meet there with your host and go on journey as you sleep. And you can use this technique as often as you like, but at least once a week for a year, and you will develop very strong and much more vivid each time communication with the YAS hosts. How many people have felt this a connection with their YAS, felt them come in and be there? Whoa. That's a lot of people. That's very good. That's very good for first run. They are there. They will stay there with you. They are commissioned to you through your Rishi level of identity. I'm just curious, and it doesn't matter who, but how many actually saw 2 YAS come in? Decent amount. Okay, good. So they will both work with you then. And the others, one of each group, will work with you for certain reasons. Where remember when we had the 6 of them come in and then the one that was going to stay with us? So some of us will have the 6 that work with us and then the one that stays, and some of us will have the 2 that stay. but they will still come in and work with us, with our Buddhas, sometimes for different applications. So you may find when you use this technique and begin to get direct cognition communication with them, that they may suggest you do something with the Buddhas and with the others as well. And they may teach you techniques to use. It is a good idea when you start your mirror training to keep a journal dedicated to the mirror training, to just record a little bit about each session so you can see the progression, but also so you can keep track of any personal names that are given to you, any changes of wardrobe that will teach you more about who you're working with as far as their symbol clothes, any journeys they may take you on that you are aware of. There are many things that will begin to happen when you start working with the mirrors, or also if any weird things that came up that you might have frightened you, but you realize that you do not have to be frightened and you won't, you just kind of push them away. And even if you need to walk away from the mirror right now and say, I'm not going to play that game, I'm sick of looking at myself purge, right? And then come back. And any type of thing like that. Make note of the phenomena. Put the date on it, put the time of day on it, right? Keep accurate journals. These will be very valuable to you in the future if you do. And it will also help you keep track of all sorts of people that you will meet in these journeys and what significance they have for you. There will be a time when we also get to meet more of our own incarnational selves on the various different levels, where we will start to see their faces and see some of their memories and be able to actually, with the assistance and the protection of our host, be able to actually do patra with them and start communicating and understanding what they are and who they are, where they were, and how that pattern has actually affected your life in some way, because especially the immediate 12 incarnations will be having, and since you are born, have a direct effect. So there's a multitude of things you will learn through using this technique. It is the beginning of a very precious relationship that one day we will be able to, if the grids hold and our activations hold, we will eventually be able to first, in bilokit state, where we actually go to sleep and literally go through the mirror and know we're going, and be able to follow ourselves and remember as if we forgot this body and this was a dream body, and then come back and remember. Those things will happen first, and then eventually we will actually be able to do the transfiguration that would allow us to go through into the Wa fields. But at that point, they will be teaching us of how the Wa host, the Wayas host, will actually shape-shift itself into the plasma ship that will be our buffer field, because we will need one, because we have not done a full Mashayahanic Christ-star ascension yet. So they will assist us in that. In order to fully go in physically, they would need to do that. So this is the beginning of an amazing round of training that wasn't supposed to start until 2011, like begin in 2011. And well, sometimes it is a good thing that things need to be expedited. Sometimes it isn't, but this is, even though there are attempted negative things happening from the Borgia matrix, the positive effects that can be gained by expediting these activations in our planetary grids, in our galaxy, and in our personal selves and bodies. It will advance our training very, very quickly, and we will begin to learn at a much higher rate. And we will begin to learn from this point forward with our own personal teachers. But it is up to us to make the appointments in time, to connect with them, and to do the mirror work. The effort you put into the mirror work, they will meet you with. But they're not going to like knock on your mirror and say, hey, yo, you haven't talked to me in a month, you know. They're not going to do that. So, I don't think I'm just going to comment. I guess we could, yeah, we could put that up really quick. Yeah, just briefly. Yeah, and just briefly, before we go, I mean, I'm excited about where this is going to go, not just for myself, but for all of you, because this is just the next step. This gets so real. I've been through what can be done with the mirrors. I didn't know how they did it, but I have been through some of the experiences. I have been taken on journeys through mirrors to amazing places and come back, and then had to write down the journeys really fast so I remembered how to get there and whether you turn left or whether you turn right and all sorts of things. I mean, this has been amazing. One of the things I do want to just come back to before we leave is I just want to look at the work that we did involving the Gulf of Mexico and the oil spill. I just want to point out what, we described what we were creating, and I just wanted to show you a little bit of where we are. We're here in Sarasota, Florida. This was a map that was in the newspaper, the Herald Tribune. There's Sarasota. We added a few things. Nissan put in this is about 200 miles to where this sheens and scattered tar balls are happening, and over here is where the spill actually is, the Deepwater Horizon site, and this is where we created that the set of double vortices that are actually meant to start trying to pull it and pull the tension back in, so it keeps it from moving toward the shores. And underneath that is where we set the coagulation field and of AS orbs, where they're trying to coagulate it so to slow it a bit, but also spread the pressure before slowing it enough where it would stop. So we have done our share in attempting to assist with this. The reason that some things look like accidents but weren't. This was allowed to occur on a higher level of Illuminati because there were certain disturbances that were needed in the Gulf area, because in the Gulf of Mexico there is the center core anchoring of the gravitron vortex sets that run the staff, and they are still trying to plug the staff into enough energy where they can roll the crust and finish the sixth and final extinction. It's still holding, and we have, the Phoenix Workshop where another set of activations will happen, and we also have the October cruise, which is the Mayan cruise, and that is where we are going down to pick up the grids from the Green Dragon set, that will allow us to fortify this region. But there is going to be times when we are asked to create intervention posses and use the mirrors, go meet, and be able to assist in holding off potential earthquakes or assisting in areas and stabilizing areas when there has been earthquakes, assisting waves of people who happen to pass over in natural disasters and things like that. So this is the beginning of just the huge grid work projects. I do believe probably in the next workshop, I think we'll be covering some of the things that involve attending the workshops that the beloveds will give on Aurora Earth by going through the mirrors, projecting through, meeting with our hosts, and then kind of flying with them into the Amayasan school systems, because there are certain there's schools in that city complex, and there are certain areas of frequency that we still need buffered to get past, but will be ongoing meetings. We'll also be taught how to give our own, so in the event that there's media blackout and we just can't reach each other, we know how to reach each other. We reach each other through the mirrors, and we will be able to get more and more conscious of doing that, where it's not just each of our hosts with us, but eventually we can do this in the mirrors. We can actually meet collectively, and we'll put out special workshop in the Awa shop. Oh boy, we'll have workshops in 3D and we'll have washops where we'll put out a time and place, and you can go in on Lone Harmonic whenever time and actually meet there, right? And experience the content and those kind of things. So this is the beginning of quite an amazing journey of learning, of continued learning. I thank you for being so patient with the crazy schedules that come through with some of these. This has been a huge and amazing workshop in terms of activations. This workshop was all about the activations and about one of the most precious techniques we've had in a long, long time. I hope to see you in Wa soon. And have a very, very safe trip home. And the Gulf thanks you.